Welcome to the Artist Academy podcast, the audio version of our Facebook Live series, Art Talk Tuesday. I'm your host, Andrea Earhart, and I am so excited that you're here to catch the weekly replay of my laid-back yet very inspiring conversations with other full-time professional artists. The purpose of this series is to show aspiring artists like you that it is completely possible to make a great career out of this art thing. And if you ever want to join us live and have your questions answered in real time by myself or featured guests, then just hop over to facebook.com/groups/Artist Academy every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. I'll see you there. This episode is sponsored by the Artist Academy Advanced Membership, a program for artists who want to up-level their art game by taking it from a hobby or a side hustle to a full-time art business. I've been a professional artist for over 5 years, with paintings in several different countries and a client list that includes high-profile companies such as Bass Pro, O'Reilly's, Duck Commander, and many, many more. So I figured out what it takes to build an art business, and now my heart is set on teaching aspiring artists like you to do the same. Go to advancedmember.com, that's advancedmember.com to learn more. Adam Wolken is my first male artist on the show, and he set the bar pretty high, if I do say so. Adam and his brother Aaron painted a large part of the famous Wonders of Wildlife Museum, which was recently voted America's best aquarium. These guys know what they're doing with a paintbrush, and if you don't know who they are, a quick Google search will show you plenty of examples of their highly impressive artwork. I loved getting to talk to Adam. He really is just such a nice, genuine guy, and seeing some of his work in person, really, it just blows me away. He opens up a lot in this episode about the art business and how a past experience helped him to not take being able to paint for granted. I love how when I ask for one answer to a question, he really gives me 5 or more answers and really lets us in on what it's like to be a professional muralist. So let me know what you think about this Facebook Live episode with Adam Wolken. I was just telling him how you and your brother are like the painting duo, and Emily and I are kind of like the female version, sort of. And,
Sisters from a different mother.
Right, yeah. Basically. Yeah, so if you just want to just kind of give a little like backstory and just kind of pretend that people on here don't know who you are, even though I think most people, especially in Missouri, know exactly who you are. So just kind of give a little backstory. Give a backstory on how you got started, and then what was the tipping point that took you from hobby to professional artist, and yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna go way back. Now, 4th grade, I think I drew one of my a little boat. I just would draw little caricatures of people with big heads, little bodies, just goofy stuff, and always enjoyed doing that. But then I drew something really nice, and my art teacher just loved it, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be an artist if I don't play professional golf. So from then I just drew, and went to college for art, and I thought I would be an art teacher, but I ended up going with a commercial art degree. And but then had a focus in drawing, and I really didn't paint much at first, but when I got out of college, I was a hustle. I was drawing portraits. I was doing contract work for design stuff for a local hospital. I was substitute teaching, decided if I wanted to be an art teacher, and I was working at a golf course. I was working 4 jobs. But in college, actually, the thing that you said, tipping point, in college, I got an internship with, she was I wrote it down. She's a marketing consultant. And so that's where I was doing a little bit of the design work for hospitals and stuff like that. But when I got my first paycheck, that was my tipping point. I don't know if that's a motivator for me, but it felt nice getting paid for something I love to do. And so I just, from then on, I was just going. I knew I was going to be doing art for, you know, a profession from that point. And so it was a little bit of a hustle at first, doing all of that at the same time. But then I went to a little art guild in a small town, Lebanon over here, and saw a couple. There was a bunch of just like Bob Ross paintings and needlepoint and junk like that. But there were these two paintings I loved, and people had different last names. I went to the meeting just to meet them and brought a couple of my paintings. I thought, well, I love their artwork. I want to meet them. Maybe I can paint with them sometime just for fun. Learn something, like just kind of just put myself out there. Well, it turned out they were actually a married couple, but they kept their own last names and they painted murals. And so lo and behold, I showed them some of my artwork, told them I was interested in painting with them sometime just for fun. And they liked my stuff enough that they said, if you're going to paint with us, you're going to get paid for it. And so that was exciting.
Yeah.
And they kind of showed me the ropes with murals, kind of got my feet wet in painting large. I was comfortable with paint. I was comfortable with drawing, but I wasn't comfortable to that sort of, that world. And it
It's a
turned
whole
out
different thing. Yeah.
it is. It's not sitting there, with a little brush and, which is wonderful. People can do that. I have a hard time with it. I have narcolepsy, which is entertaining, but so
I didn't know
sitting,
that. Okay.
yeah. So sitting still and staring at a screen or sitting still, I can do it some, especially with like iPad Pros. It's so fun, it's like very tactile, but mostly the sitting still would just make me crazy. And so as soon as I got on a big mural and got to move and paint, it's so silly, but paint with broad strokes, you kind of, it was yeah, I identified with it and kind of flourished in that, and kind of keeping moving kept my mind active, kept me motivated, and there's so many challenges involved that it's just always kept my interest. So yeah, it's 15 years later. Painted football fields worth of artwork with my brother, and
that's no exaggeration either, guys. Like
yeah.
it's like walls and walls and feet and feet. Like
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah, which we had gotten a large client when we were working with that couple at first, and then ended up parting ways, and that was another tipping point for me. I remember when I actually got out on my own, and it was just me doing this, not like I'm doing it for someone else. That was so I get to make my own decisions on how we do everything. Man, we were cooking.
Yeah.
I would say that once my brother kind of rejoined with me at that point, I also taught art for a year somewhere in between there. Sorry, I'm jumping around. So
No, you're good. Yeah, just keep going.
so yeah, once we got together, and Aaron and I were kind of just doing our own thing and making our own decisions on how we wanted to paint, what we wanted to do with it, as far as with the outdoor hunting and fishing people that we were working with. We got to the point where we could paint 80 to 100 feet by 17 or 18 feet in 4 days combined. So it was like,
Yeah.
40, 50 feet each, with animals and just fun stuff. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
dang, that's
is,
crazy.
yeah.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
experience does. So, see, to be honest,
Yeah.
I've been wanting to paint a mural for so long. What type of paint do you typically use for it when you're working outside?
Oh, well, when I'm working outside, it depends on the surface that we're working on. You can, um, as long as you can get it primed with something that will let the paint breathe. Um, I like to use Nova paint, and they're based in California. You're very familiar with them, I'm sure,
Yeah, yeah.
because we use them a lot. But yeah, I love that stuff. It has a low viscosity, so it's not super thick, and so you can dip. Then they sell them gallons and 5 gallons even, and they have all sorts of products that work along with it to make the paint last a long time outside. Um, but but it just flows so well out of the brush. And yeah, so you're not wasting all of your time thinning it out and whatnot.
Yeah,
And
they even have like
yeah.
black light paint, like glow in the dark paint and
Oh
stuff
yeah,
that
yeah.
we've used before. Yeah,
Yeah, and
yeah,
iridescence and fun stuff.
fun
Yeah,
stuff.
fun stuff. But I love them, and they last a long time outside. They're a very a high quality mural artist paint. So
Cool.
hope that helps.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, so just to move on to the first question, what makes up your typical work day and how many hours do you spend painting? So you
Oh,
could do
okay.
that now or you could do like on the job or whatever, wherever you
Yeah.
wanna.
So right now I'm a little scattered because I'm doing some other work that's not painting
Mhm.
related. I just finished a map mural, uh, and but our typical routine is, probably we start at around 6:30 and end around 4:30 or 5 and take like a lunch break. But with when we're working with that group, and basically if Aaron and I are working on the road, we work 6 days a week to try to get home as soon as possible, because we have wives and children we love and whatnot. So
Yeah.
um, yeah, so yeah, we work hard, and I think that's a big key to people's succeeding in life is being willing to work hard and put the hours in and paint every day, draw every day, do whatever you're interested in, as much as possible. But as far as the routine goes, I'm a child of habit. Like I don't like to start painting unless I have all my stuff set up. I get all my paints filled. I get all my brushes cleaned. I always have a water spray with me, so I fill one or two of those up. Get all my rags so that whenever I actually start, there's nothing preventing me from focusing on the artwork.
Yeah.
And I think that's key for a lot of people, to be successful in whatever they're doing, is to be prepared, and then like to set yourself up to where you're able to focus on what you're doing. You're going to perform at your best when you're not distracted by a number of different things. And I'm even finding to the point where I used to have a painting mix that I had played every single day when I painted all day long. Had Jack White in it, which I was super happy about. With the
Yeah.
Rack and the Tours was always a part of my mix. Um, but if it's just random stuff and talk radio and things like that, I find my mind going places to where I'm not actually focusing as much. So like if I am going to listen to something, it's going to be a part of the routine. Like, so
Yeah.
that's something
That's
I don't know if
great.
that's helpful for anyone.
No, yeah, that's
Yeah.
great. That's
Um,
perfect. A little insight on there. Yeah. Okay, cool.
yeah.
Um,
So I spent a lot of hours.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's needed. Okay. Brianna says
Yeah.
thank you for answering her paint question. And let's
Yeah.
see. Could you
Nova
talk
color.
us? Yeah, Nova. Could you talk us through your painting process and just are there any methods or techniques that you picked up through your years of experience? So other than paint, I guess, like what is your process? Do you sketch it
Right.
out first? What?
Oh, yeah, yeah. There's for a while, a lot of the stuff that I was receiving to paint was designed previously, even vaguely, like there might be a sketch or someone else had already designed it beforehand. But eventually, I got to the point where I was a part of that process of preparing the designs and the art concepts, involving the imagery as well and whatnot. And so I normally do, if I can't find good reference or I can't take my own reference, um, specific to the way I want, I will do a hand-drawn sketch, and then I will go and have inspiration sort of uh, photos that have either the right colors that I want, or they have the right types of, because I do a lot of landscapes, I'm going to say the right types of vegetation or whatever, you know, or the, I guess if I was doing a city scene or something, the right type of buildings, like type of architecture for that area. But so yeah, I'll do something like that and get it approved. Being that I deal with commercial clients primarily, and once all of that's approved, then we just go through and oftentimes, if it's super huge and it's more of a portrait than an inspiration, we'll make grids like 4 foot by 4 foot grids and draw it all out. But a lot of it's just freehand. We'll take sidewalk chalk art, which I mean chalk, the ones that look like huge crowns, yeah,
Yeah, me
and just
too.
kind of,
Yeah.
yeah, we'll just guesstimate, and then if we like that and there's something that we actually need a little more solid of a detail or we need to fix something, then we go back with charcoal, so that it's different and it stands out more. Um, so it's just like, but it's normally just a quick fix, and then from there, as far as processes, I don't know if they would be processes, but when I first started, everyone was painting the skies by hand. They were all painting everything by hand. And the first mural I did for that company was 250 feet long by 35 feet tall. And I hadn't painted a landscape larger than 4 by 6 at the time. And so I was like, I'm not painting this all by hand. Like, this seems insane. And so I talked them into getting a paint sprayer. And so, because I was working with that company at first, so I got a paint sprayer, like an HVLP. Um, it's typical to what people use for cabinetry finishing and for painting cars, and then so I will block my sky in, my fades, my sometimes even my background colors with a sprayer, and then and with rollers. I use rollers, lots of rollers. You always work with your biggest stuff and then get down to your little stuff. So always get your big general feel. As far as murals, I tend to. Everybody's different, but I get the big general feel, and then I go into the more detailed stuff. As far as some of the techniques, this is kind of silly, but we had a much smaller version of this when I started working with a company, and then when I got out on my own, I found a bigger version that was twice as deep as this one. This is for my smaller stuff, but I fill these full of Nova Color paints, and maybe keep a little wet sponge in there to keep them moist. I don't tip it or anything, of course, because it's not like waterproof. I keep everything level, but those things are big enough that I can dip 4-inch chip brushes in. I can put little weenie rollers in. Sometimes I got like those like pump out extender poles, and so because if I'm in a tight space, sometimes like on a lift or something, I can put it in tight, dip it in some color that I've pre-mixed, and then put it on the wall and extend it and go, instead of painting like a 6-foot space, I can block in a 12-foot space in one spot. So that's entertaining to see from the outside. Wish I had a video of that. It's a hoot. But yeah, and I love little weenie rollers. They have those hard edge ones you can use for more detailed sort of lines and things, and then the flat ends of them, of course, are speak for themselves. But and I always carry a water sprayer with me. I love like I don't just paint solid. I kind of like some see-through or using washes and whatnot, especially in the beginning stages. And it spreads your paint. It makes your paint last longer, as far as the amount of paint you use. So oftentimes I'll spray on the wall and then put my paintbrush down and help extend my paint a little more. And I have these. I brought these props. It's so silly. this is the lid. It's a lid to like a plastic container people use for storage, but they are great for painting because like you can put all your colors along one side. I like use the little
Oh,
inside here. I put all my colors on one side. This side I fill with water, like or put water on, and then so I can dip in a color, mix, grab a little water if I need, and use these little ridges here. I use all of those ridges to scrape my excess paint off my brush, and they're so handy. I if I end up working with people, which often happens where I'll work with other artists and things like that. I have to guard these. People just start grabbing, like, "Oh yeah, that's great, yeah, yeah." So, God, I always keep like
that's
three of
awesome.
them. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's all the little things we use. Thomas
Hmm.
says, this question is for Adam. Paint sprayers are similar to rattle can stuff you can do for detailing. Do you use rattle can spray paint?
Oh no, no.
Me either.
I I've heard of them. I don't know if they do rattle cans for acrylic or if it's just for like spray can art, like sort of those sort of cans. Um,
Yeah,
uh, Street art or whatever you want to call it. I love it. I think it's so cool, and I love spraying so much that those are like very enticing to me, and they get such neat,
yeah,
vibrant colors with them. But um, from my experience, even just with latex paint, you inhale and ingest so much of it. Even if you're wearing a mask, if you take it off for a second, and so I try to stick with stuff that I know is not as toxic for me. Being that I had cancer 10 years ago, a month ago, and so I'm trying to be a lot more mindful of what I'm exposing myself to,
yeah.
and
What
uh, and being
what?
very careful about that stuff. So
Yeah,
yeah.
was that brought on by being around paint stuff, or was that? Or I actually don't know about that, so it's like not to like get
Yeah.
into it too far, but yeah.
No, it's okay. I have no clue. I was actually painting in Canada on a big 600-foot mural, and I was there by myself at the time. There was like one other person there working on not mural related stuff, but someone I knew. But um, and just started going for a jog or whatever. I had gained 30 pounds being on the road, eating out every day,
Yeah,
which,
yeah.
whoo, and so yeah, and so I just noticed there was a little bump on my leg and everything, and things just bad, bad thing after or bad test result after bad test result, and
Dang.
so yeah, but praise the Lord, I'm
Huh.
10 years cancer free, and
Well, that's
it
good.
makes you
Yeah.
yeah, makes you thankful for everything. And that was actually that was a big moment in my life too. Like as far as you have a question, I think you're going to ask about um, like one of your favorite projects. What one of mine was, and I have a couple, and one of them was this couple. When I had cancer, I was so stir crazy. Um, the corporate people I was working for wouldn't let me work because they were just a little worried about liability about me getting hurt on the job because it was on my leg and I had a major resection of my leg taken out. And eventually, to their credit, they let me paint. Um, and that was just George Carameros, who's actually passed the cancer. He kind of went out on a limb and let me paint because he knew it meant something to me, and I even think he talked to my father about it, and just so nice of him to let him do that. But it immediately, there's been a few times in my life where putting paint on a brush immediately washed away any anxiety or whatever I had, and it was just kind of just going to being doing what you do. You know what I mean? Like getting out of the world, you get into whatever you're uh, people need to do stuff with their hands. They don't
Yeah.
realize that like when you are doing stuff with your hands, when you're making stuff, when you're putting things into the world, the stuff that's outside of the world goes away while you're doing it. And so I'm really thankful to George for letting me do that. And so that mural was just a sky and some birds, uh, some snow geese, and some Ozark Mountains, and I don't even know if it's still there because there was a big remodel. I think part of it is, but um, that was really special to me. It wasn't one of my great paintings, but it was very special to me. And so was this. I did this family's basement at that time too, and just did all sorts of scenes from the Sierra Mountains sort of area where they lived, and made it look like a fake lot, like part of it looked like log cabin lodge. And man, I think sometimes it's not necessarily what you painted, but like the connection you had with someone, or what it meant to you just to get to do it. And so those are probably two of those big ones besides doing that museum. But
I love that.
so
I'm so glad
yeah,
you shared that too.
yeah,
Oh, that's
happy
cool.
to.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. Well, cool. That's probably one of the more heartfelt answers that I've gotten. I love it.
Yeah, and I got through it
Oh.
without crying, so that's great. I actually had
Great.
to, yeah, I had to do that. Talk about what I do with a bunch of my alumni at SBU. They had a thing actually at the Wonders of Wildlife, um, and they asked me if I could talk, and I was telling about that. And it was just a few days after my 10 year, or a week and a half after my 10 year cancer free, and I just started, you know,
Aw.
it's just like it just catches you off guard. You don't realize it's like when everything's gone good, or you haven't had any of those big scares, um, you don't necessarily taste and feel like being alive as
Yeah.
much, and so when you think about that possibly being gone, then like, oh, so
Yeah.
super thankful.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
beautiful. Yeah, and everybody in the comments is definitely agreeing. Jamie says couldn't agree more, and Christy says yes, 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 and just
Hmm.
yeah, they all definitely agree, and I'm so glad you
Okay.
shared that. Christy also asked, can you buy Nova paint locally? Do you have to order it,
No,
right?
you
Or
have to
no?
order it. You can order it, or you can do like me and drive a van from Missouri all the way over there, and then have your tires melt in Flagstaff because you're carrying too much paint. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So,
Oh man.
um,
Okay. I'll
yeah,
link to
yeah.
the I'll just find where you could probably just Google Nova Paint, but I'll find the actual website and
Yeah,
I'll just put it there.
it's put Nova Color Paint and it'll
No.
for sure show up. And I think
Okay.
they're in Fullerton, California, or Culverton. It's some weird like name like
Okay.
that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Is there one thing that you don't like to paint without?
Oh, you froze for a second. Okay, good. You're back.
Oh no,
Yeah.
you too. Okay, there we go. We got it. Okay. I was asking, is there one thing that you don't like to paint without?
Oh, that's probably my little painter lids, and I normally like to paint with a schmuck, which my brother calls my little red dress. It's my little lucky
Oh,
schmuck, and
okay.
so I keep my phone hooked up to my earphones or whatever, and whatever little things I need in my other pocket. Um, I It depends on what size I'm painting, but I really don't like to paint without like 4-inch cheap chip brushes. They have those ones you can get from Home Depot or Lowe's, and then like a 2-inch. They have a 2-inch version, and I like to smash those up and use them for stippling and whatnot. But I paint so much with those, and then just like my small brushes tend to be your 1-inch um, flats and things like that, and the natural bristle ones as well that are a little stronger bristles. I don't like to paint without a paint sprayer. I think you asked for one. I'm giving you like a ton of them.
No, you're good.
Um,
Give us all the good details.
yeah, well, those are the ones I tend to always have with me, and besides a rag and a water spray bottle. I like reference, of course. I used to, I guess you could say my iPad. I keep my iPad I have a strap, I hook it around my shoulder, and then I just flip it up and look at my reference, and then drop it down and keep painting, flip it up and look at it, drop it down, and do redesigning on the spot too. Like I'll step back and take a photo of whatever I'm doing, and then I'll draw on top of my photos, and something's not reading the way I'd hoped. So
Yeah.
um, yeah, with that stuff too, I always, I guess I don't like to paint without my client's needs in mind. That's not a physical thing, but it is important to, um, if you're doing commercial work, which is 100% what I do. So I'm sorry if you're in fine art right now. So, um, but that's all I
No,
care
yeah.
about, is providing something excellent for them, and also providing something excellent for their viewers if it's a place where people are going to experience. Like, so I'm when I'm painting, I'm not thinking about what I'm doing right in front of me, as in, oh, it needs to look good here. It needs to look good from the person that's just walking by from 20 feet below, or, you know, 10 feet away, or, so that's always something you get to kind of get out of it being about you, and as much as about the experience. So
Yeah, definitely. I definitely agree. Yeah, that's just a really good thing that I wouldn't have thought even to say in that, but that's such an important thing. So Christine says, "How the heck did you start pricing the Wonders of Wildlife gig?" So I'll just kind of let
getting
you
what?
answer.
What
So
was the
how the heck
question
did
again?
you start price? Sorry, how the heck did you start pricing the
Oh
Wonders of
gosh.
Wildlife gig? So I think, yeah,
That was a challenge, because everything I had done before that, I did two smaller museums before that, and they were so much smaller in scale that it was by the project, and I just basically estimated how much time I thought it would take me, and then how much I would like to get paid, and then put an hour, and then supplies and whatnot, and just kind of put that all together. But those clients primarily paid us, Aaron and I, by the hour. And so those were mostly just for their cost estimates. Um, Now, when we did the Wonders of Wildlife, there were, at first, I painted one of the first mural in there, after the remodel. Um, and it was more of a hope to get a certain collection. And so they wanted me to make a beautiful mural to bring a good home to a bunch of sheep that someone had collected over their lifetime. And so that mostly I just charged them by the hour for that one. But some of these other, like, large space, there was a space that was 450 feet by 26 to 35, depending on where you were, because there was a peak on the ends. Um, and they wanted us to give a cost estimate and a time estimate on that. And how do you cost estimate painting 115 wildebeest and life-size elephants and giraffes and savannas and all of that, and on scaffolding nonetheless. So you're climbing up and down because it can be less. It was a very big challenge, even giving them a close cost estimate. And I'm not giving you an answer right now, but I,
no,
I
you're
got
good.
darn close. I was actually under budget, um, but the whole
Yeah.
deal with that is you have to decide for yourself what you're worth. Um, what now what you're worth and what you're willing to do, actually, like willing to take for it. So you have an offer that you can give them, and if they say no, you need to know at what point is the tipping point to where you're like, no, it's not worth my time. Either you're losing money, or you're only making a certain amount, whereas if you'd done a number of other smaller projects that paid you what you wanted, you would have made more money. So there's all sorts of measurements there, but really, it pays to make a pricing rubric to go, and there's a lot of artists online. You can just look up their stuff and they post their prices. And so you can kind of get an idea of what people are charging. Um, uh, what's that woman's name that does the marketing for a husband, is just a wonderful resource. Maria Brophy. She's
Oh yeah.
a great, yeah, I love that gal. I have never talked to her before. I'd give her a hug if I could, but I just
Yeah.
finished reading her book as well. But she has a number of blogs that talk about pricing murals and presentations involved with that and everything like that. But really, I am blathering on. So
No,
I would
you're
make a
great. I love
pricing.
it. I'm
I
loving
would make
this.
I would make a pricing rubric if I were you. If she's asking that this many square feet, you can charge it by the square foot or by what you think it would take you. So it's either a pricing rubric. Yeah, okay, that's a good way of saying this. Okay, so in my experience, I price them in two ways. Either, well, three. Okay, so the first one is how long I think it would take me, what supplies, what sort of access I would need. Like if I'm going to have to rent equipment, I have to do that research beforehand and have that all ready for them, or pass it on to the client and say, hey, you gotta provide this part and let them figure it out. But so you got to figure it out that way and figure out how much you want to make. And I would say charge 10 to 20% more than that, because there's going to be things
Yeah.
that happen that you don't expect. Or I have a pricing rubric where I charge by the square foot. And as the square feet go up, I charge less per square foot, because it's like a wholesale or a bulk, so I'm making like things get more and more simple the more you do them. So it gets easier for you to paint it as well. So it's a good way of getting them into wanting to do more as well. I mean, so those are two ways I do it. I do have like um, the least amount I will take. So like the smallest I will paint, because if I charged $20 a square foot, let's say that, well, $10 is easier to do this with. So $10 a square foot, and I went, and and it's a 10 by 10, so you got 100 square feet, so it's $1,000. But that amount of work to do that 100 square feet, I could have done 400, being all the setup and getting ready, and research and designs and things like that. So I have a base amount that I would charge that prevents them from doing something small enough that, for murals, this is for murals, that I don't feel like I'm losing money with something smaller. So that's at the very
Yeah.
beginning of it. So like no less than $3,000 or something. And so, but then from that point on, the square feet's, I don't know. That's a hard way of saying that. If you look at that Maria
Yeah.
Brophy's
No, you're great.
website, she has a pricing rubric similar to that you can look at, that's free,
Yeah.
and she just lets you download it. So, oh my.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Very
apologize
cool.
to whoever
Yeah.
asked that question.
No,
I'm
you're
sorry.
good.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No.
I tried.
No, you're good. You're
Oh,
good. It's like
the
pricing
last
is
one was
just
I
such
charged by
a
the hour.
strange thing.
Yeah,
Okay,
that
great.
was the other one. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It was actually it was Christine who asked that, and she's actually in Branson, and she painted
Oh, cool.
Skateland in Branson. Yeah,
Oh,
so it was
fun.
her like that. That was, yeah, her first like big mural where, and I think
Yeah.
she did the same thing. She's like, I'm just gonna bill you by the hour because I don't know what this is gonna cost. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
So that's
I
super
only,
exciting. But
yeah.
yeah.
I only bill by the hour normally if I know the client is going to make a bunch of changes. Like
Ugh,
that I'm positive that they're not positive what they want. That's a good way of putting it. So
yeah.
and if they do, but if they do, but they have a reputation for changing things, then I just charge them by the hour. It's in your benefit to charge by the bid, like to put it out there and say, I'll do it for this amount. And then you've got the motivation to paint it as fast as you can or as beautiful as you want. Um, like it's up to you at that point. You know you're going to make this much amount. Like you're going to make this much, but if you paint it faster, you might make make it faster and get to move on to the next project. You know, so I like bidding. I think that's um, the projects that I've bid have been my most profitable endeavors. So rather
Yeah.
than just doing by the
Awesome.
hour. So
Yeah. She says, thanks. I've been charging like a contractor, giving an estimate and then doing hourly. Thank you. You are goals. So yeah.
I'm gold and I'm also orange from this light.
No, no. So, moving on, are there any lessons you have learned the hard way? And I always say
Mm.
it like this. I remember like that one of my first Bass Pro jobs, instead of using white chalk, I
Hmm.
saw people using white and I was like, they're just using white paint. So I just like
Hmm.
outlined in white paint and then they
Yeah.
changed it like Bass Pro does. And I was like,
Hmm.
oh no, like that's always my like learn the hard way thing. So what did
Yeah,
you
yeah.
learn the hard way?
Oh, okay. Learn the hard way. Well, let's see here. I learned the hard way that art is can be a community or it can be a competition, and I would much rather it be a community, and with everyone being encouragers and helpers and building each other up. I think there's a lot of challenges in life with just like in Instagram or um, things that are like involve your self-esteem because you're creating something, you're bringing something to the world, um, that when you look at someone else, something someone else has brought into the world, you might feel inferior or jealous or um, whatever, you know. And so I think we're all at where we're at when we're at that point, and you just got to be okay
Hmm.
with where you're at, and if people are better than you or people are worse than you, that's okay. Encourage them. There's something to be learned from everyone. There's something you can bring to anyone, you know, like, and so, uh, and there's no telling what could be made or what sort of connection you're going to have that might drive you to the next step if you were, um, I've just had so many catty experiences in art that didn't need to be there, and so I'm so thankful for all the artists I know now that are not like that, and that I'm not like that, you know, like, um,
Yeah.
so that's been fun. Learning the hard way. My brother is awesome, and I love him, and he's the most talented person I've ever met in my life. Um, and uh, being brothers, I've learned that I don't treat him as nice as I should sometimes when we're working. so, so
Oh,
I'm learning to love him just as
that's a
much as I love
sibling,
him
though.
outside. Yeah, I know, but you know what I mean? Like that stuff, like he has to be with me every day, and I want him to be excited about it. So, um,
Yeah.
and so, that's something, you know, just being good to people around you. I mean, that's so that would probably be a big one I learned the hard way. As far as clients and stuff like that, learning the hard way. If you want to get a job, if you want to close a deal, you got to be persistent. Um, People, when you're in their mind, you need to stay in their mind. Like if they think of
Yeah.
you and they contact you, don't wait 4 days to call them back. Don't wait, you know, 2 weeks to give them the bid that they asked for. Just take a chance and put it out there. And you might lose money on some, but at least they will have had that sort of you know, the engine was running whenever you got there rather than it's out of gas by the time you got there. So um,
Yeah.
that it's big. It's big.
Good
I've
advice.
lost,
Yeah.
I feel like I've lost a few big opportunities because I didn't even like some of them, they were interested and they said they would get back to me, and I should have just followed up with them, sort of thing. Like people get busy, or companies get busy, and they get distracted and they forget about you for a second, and then all of a sudden that thing that you wanted to do is gone. So just go out there and get it.
Very
And,
true.
yeah, I'm speaking to myself right now, so as
Same,
well.
yeah, yeah. Actually, my fiance Ryan's always like, email him again. I'm like, okay, like he's just like, do it
Yeah,
again,
yeah,
like just keep on him. I'm like, okay, so
yeah,
exactly what you're
yeah.
saying.
Sometimes they appreciate it. Like I
Awesome.
just revisited one.
Hmm.
I had done a design for him for a big flag on a wall, um, and he liked the idea. Well, he wanted it, but he was all excited about it. But then they had to wait for a while, and then I was like, well, that's fizzled out. And then I just thought of some other fun design for him, and just made a rendering of it and sent it to him. I don't normally like to do that because I don't like to work before like I don't like to do a bunch of
Yeah.
design work beforehand, but sometimes you need to do it just to push through. And so I sent him a thing and basically said, just saying this could be cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, bam,
Yeah.
this is what your wall should look like. And yeah, it worked out. He wanted to bid, he wanted, a timeline and everything like that. And so um, following through is keeping in contact. So
Yeah, great answers. I love it.
good.
Do you have a favorite past project? So is
A
the Windows of
favorite
Wildlife
past?
a past project? Actually, Susan Watkins just hopped on here. I
Ah,
saw.
Susan, hi. She's so sweet.
I know. Oh,
Um,
I should have her on here. Susan, you should be on
yes,
Art
you
Talk
should.
Tuesday.
Yes, for sure. I would say, as far as besides extending a big hug to Susan, um, as far as one of my favorite ones, I think it was just because, well, I mean, Africa was wonderful. Those two I told you about with the when I during cancer was great. That was
Oh
really
yeah.
lifted
Oh
my
yeah, yeah. I
spirits.
forgot about that.
Um, but I would say Africa, that big one I was talking about earlier, that was probably 400. I think it was 400 feet by whatever. That was fun because it was that was a 11 months of my life, and I've never spent 11 months doing one project before, and so that was such a blessing to get to do, and to do it with my brother in our hometown or close to our hometown was wonderful.
Yeah.
Um, I get good feelings every time I go in there, but there's another one not far from it. It's a muskoxen diorama that was designed by Bob Sopcich, who's one of my favorite sort of just people in general, like a outdoorsman and a wonderful writer and just creator of all good things,
Hmm.
and inspirer. He just inspires people around him, and so he had dreamed up this neat idea of I believe so. I believe he thought of this as a musk oxen circle, which is what they do when they're in danger, or they sense danger. It could be a mile away because in the Arctic, sometimes you can just see forever, and they might see something or smell something, and all of a sudden they're in a perfect circle, and you can see it from a distance, like it's just a little perfect circle, and they put the young in the center. And so we did like a half of the circle in the diorama. It's 25 feet by, I don't know, 18 feet or so, maybe 20, um, at night. And I mean, you can imagine, of course, the rest of the circle goes behind them. And then there's wolves, like these are all 3D, by the way. There's wolves around them. And we painted an Arctic scene from a specific spot that I can't remember at the moment, from a specific time of year. And we got like a constellation map for that exact time of year, and mapped out where all the stars were. Um, Painted the whole mural in the dark because it's going to be a scene. And so that was a neat experiment. If you turn the lights on, some of the colors are red, and the whole mural is like blue green and whatnot. But when I was painting, that red looked like the right color at night. So, and so we did all of that, and then had fiber optics wired into some of the stars, and I went up there and put all these cool tints on them to make them look a little closer to the right, like color or exposure. So the lights twinkle, the stars twinkle, and we had a movie special effects movie guy, did stuff with, like Transformer sort of guy that my brother knew, and he made an aurora borealis um, that was projected onto it. And so the aurora moves and the lights twinkle and they play sounds like the wind's howling around and everything. I don't know. It was just like, wow, this is so cool. It's so like, it's not like interactive, but it's like, there's not a diorama, a muskoxen diorama like it anywhere. And I'm so thankful that I got to be a part of it, and that Bob thought of us to be a part of the painting of that one, and Bob and Joe and all those good people, Mike, but yeah, so
Yeah,
that was fun.
it is
I
really
love it.
impressive. So like that's in the Wonders of Wildlife for you guys who don't know.
Yeah,
And you go through
go
and you go through
there.
all these rooms inside the museum, and you go into this room and it's dark, and you see all this like aurora borealis just like projected onto, like you was saying, and
Hmm.
it's just so cool, and it's just a very like what would
Hmm.
happen in real life kind of a thing. That is really cool. Yeah.
Yeah,
Cool.
this little
Awesome.
snapshot in time. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
That's so cool.
Oh yeah, and the guy that did
Um,
the taxidermy, Frank Sitz. Oh my gosh, those animals are awesome. Like they look like the wolves look like happy hunters. Like if you would saw this animal in real life doing what it loves to do. Like they they look happy. Like I don't know. It's just neat. I like everything in
yeah.
there. So.
Yeah. Thomas asked, do you use photoluminescent paint, Adam? What is that?
Oh, I think he means glow in the dark paint. We
Oh, okay.
did use. I think that's what he means. We did use that on some of the stars that weren't fiber optics, and with it being so dark in there, there is some lighting in there that does help kind of charge the paint to make it a little brighter. But if one was to do that somewhere, like I don't, if that's what he's talking about, you would almost ask them when it's off, like when the place is closed, you'd almost ask them to have the lights on so that the paint could absorb some of that light and glow in the
Okay.
dark a little more whenever it's during its peak time. But um,
Yeah.
I don't know that, or he's talking about the stuff that you use sometimes, the black light paint. I don't.
No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure he's talking about the stuff that you just said. So good,
Yeah.
good, good.
Yeah, we used a little
So
bit
do you have
of
any?
it.
Okay. Sorry, there's like a little bit of a lag in here, so it's like
Yeah, I'm
we're like
sorry.
interrupting each other, and like, no, you're good. So what are your future art plans and goals? What upcoming projects do you have? Like, so you kind of gave us a
Ooh.
good background, like what's in the future?
Oh my goodness. I don't know. I'm in a retooling stage. Things I've slowed down a little bit right now, which is the way things go. They get busy, they get slow, they get busy. But this is
Hmm.
the first time in a long time that I hadn't, like in 7 years, where I hadn't been like just to the max busy, like every single day busy. So I've been taking some time to kind of hopefully allow myself enough time to choose something that I'm going to enjoy doing for the rest of my life. You know what I mean? As far as the art
Yeah,
goes. And so
yeah.
I've been looking at, I mean, of course I'll paint a mural anytime one comes around, or if I find an opportunity, a place that I think I would love to paint. I'd love to start doing, this is one. Okay, this is one. I would really love to start doing some um, more murals outdoors. I do a lot of murals indoors. And so I've only done a handful of outdoor murals that to speak of, but I always love them. I always love outdoor murals. That's got me so motivated when I first started working with that couple. It's like, oh my gosh, that's what I was thinking about, was outdoor murals, even though most of my stuff was indoors.
Mhm.
So I'd really love to do some murals, some local stuff, hopefully, like downtown big stuff. But I would love for them to be more connected with a purpose, like or a I don't have much to say as a person, but there's so many people out there um, that either they have stories or they have there's like movements, like with like just like foundations that help kids, you know what I mean? Like I Pour Life, they go and they kids that are aging out of foster care and whatnot like that. I met a bunch of those kids and they have such wonderful stories and just touch your heart, like you just want to wrap them all up. But I would love to start doing murals where I'm involving them or involving their stories, So if I can, or I've been tooling around with some ideas, and so I would love. That's more of a little pipe dream side thing that I think I can make happen. I'm still kind of feeling out how I would approach it, and what the art would look like. I don't want to just jump in and say, hey, I want to do this, and then I don't know what the art is going to be like. But I would love to be doing murals that are empowering people and empowering being proud of what your story is. You know what I mean? Like, or it's just some way of connecting it all to where it's not just something pretty, which is most of what I've done, which I
Yeah.
enjoy. Pretty or exciting, one of the two. But yeah, so
Yeah.
I'm very interested in printmaking. I would love to do some sort of fun print work with my wife that would be a little less involved in me earning every penny with my hand, like, you know what I mean? Like, so we can do nice artwork together or designs or cards or different things, and then, sell them and license them. Other thoughts, I've had so many. Um, what was some of the other ones? Seriously, it's been like trying to uh, corral a wild animal. When you're creative, you just have so many ideas.
Yes, I think they can
All
all
these people
relate
know
to. I'm
about
like, let's do this, let's do
that.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. It's
exactly.
like daily. My wife's like, it was like, calm down and just pick one for now. I want to get into golf. I want to get into the golf market really bad. That's one. I love
Okay.
golf. And so I'm hoping to do some fun golf related paintings. Um,
Yeah, very
yeah,
cool.
I don't know. There's all sorts of fun stuff. So interior design,
Who knows? Yeah.
I'm gonna be, yeah, it just keeps going. So I apologize. I don't know.
No, you're good. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people can relate to everything you just
Hmm.
said. So, is there any
Yeah.
advice that you would give artists who want to make art their full-time career, but just don't know where to start? Like, where is a good just starting point for some people? So we have a lot of aspiring artists in the group, or
Right.
like ones that just do it as a side hustle. But what's like a good starting point?
Um, well, I firmly believe this. It's a tiny thing, and it's not actually the actual part, like where you're, oh, I'm doing art. It's putting yourself out there that you want to do it. The more you speak things into the world, I'm not a mystic or anything like that. Like, I just believe that the more you put it out there, the more you speak it, the more you'll identify with it, and the more you'll start to make those subtle little decisions that will guide you to the right people and the right places and the right times. So if you want to be a professional artist, if you want to be in the creative world or whatever, like I'm sure you already are, but just don't believe it yet. So start speaking it. Start telling people
Very
you
good.
want to
That's
do
great.
that. Start finding the people that do what you want to do and ask them questions. Compliment them. I'm not
Yeah.
saying pet their ego too much. I'm just saying tell them that you appreciate them and ask them questions. People are surprisingly giving, and if they're met with love and encouragement or respect, even if you want to just keep it at that, if you don't necessarily agree with everything, but you respect what they're doing in their art, they will appreciate that, and they will share probably more than what they should. I hate to say that, you know what I mean?
So
Like, but
true.
like, and that's okay. And it's because it's a big world, you know. everybody thinks everything is so competitive, but there's a lot of art out there for everyone, and there's all sorts of avenues for it. So I would say put it out there. I would say find people that do what you want to do and ask them questions. And then I would, yeah, and then I would say, from that point, oh no, I just lost it. Put it out there. Be willing to fail. Like, just do it. Like, start making art. Um, it's not going to be perfect at first. I've got these golf paintings I want to do, and they're in my head, and um, I go and try to start one of them, and I was like, no, that's not it. And it's okay. I failed once. I've got about 500 more fails before it becomes awesome.
Yeah.
What I dreamt it to be. So, I would say just don't be afraid to fail. And you might have to start off getting paid a lot less than what you want. Sometimes that's the thing that you have to do to get in the door. I don't recommend it for like major things. Like, if you're already an amazing artist, you're just been afraid to put yourself out there. Like, oh, I already do stuff like this, I just don't charge for it. Like, you need to go in there with the right attitude and say, I can do this. Here's some examples, and charge the right wage. But if you're someone that you're a little bit of a gamble, I mean, charge a little less, and that will put give them a little insurance in case things don't go the way they had hoped. So I started painting murals, and I was getting paid $10 or $12 an hour for a long time, which sounds like, but as soon as I started proving myself, this just kept getting more and more and more, and you just have to not be afraid to ask to get paid. Like, what you're doing is a service, and like once you've you might charge less at first, but once you've proved your worth, you need to not be afraid to ask for what you deserve, or not even what you deserve as much as what it's worth, because people aren't going to respect like your art. Even like, they might not even take care of it as well if they don't pay for it. Like, if it doesn't matter to them, if they didn't give something or sacrifice something or trade something, I don't know,
People who
so
pay attention. It's like a little thing.
yes, yeah. So I mean if you need to charge a little less at first, that's okay, but I mean, eventually, once you've proved yourself, just be about it. It's business. It's nothing personal. It's the personal part is in your connection with what you're giving to them, and they will feel that, like that's, and the relationships you build there, they're happy to pay for that sometimes, like an experience. So don't be afraid about that.
Very good. Awesome. Ryan likes to hop on here and tell jokes. I feel like, so
Come on,
he had
Ryan.
a comment. He's like, he says, I think Susan is the best
What?
pro artist. Who do you think the best artist is?
Oh, I know what Ryan this is. Hold on.
Yeah.
Is it that Ryan? Is that Ryan? He's giving me a hard time, and I'm wearing his shirt right now. Is that Ryan Rosenquist?
Oh, no, it's my fiance, Ryan. Oh, you know Ryan Rosenquist? Oh, yeah.
That little
you do. Okay. Yeah.
I want to meet this guy.
He should, yeah. He's a character.
He's already playing on my "we're not competitive" thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
If he thinks that, I believe him. Let's say that.
Okay. He doesn't even know. Yeah. So that's about it, unless anybody has any last minute questions for Adam. Thank you so much for coming on and just spending a full hour with us. Really, I really appreciate your time, and I think a lot of people will pull from this. And
Good.
yeah, you really are an inspiration to a lot of people, whether you
Thanks.
see it or not. And yeah, I really appreciate your time. So yeah,
Well, I'm
I've always
thankful.
looked up to
Yeah.
you guys at the Bass Pro, and it's kind of funny how like how knowledge trickles down, because you guys taught Emily how to spray paint, and she taught me how to spray like
Oh
on the
yeah.
job. So it's just like
Hmm.
knowledge gets passed down, and yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm so happy to talk
Good.
to you.
Yeah. Well,
So
I
yeah,
appreciate you too. You
okay.
bring
Well,
a great energy there. So.
thanks. I appreciate it. Yeah. Okay, so that is it. So thank you for being our first male on Art Talk Tuesday, and I hope you have a good night. I will talk to you later.
Okay. Bye.
This episode is sponsored by the Artist Academy Advanced Membership, a program for artists who want to up-level their art game by taking it from a hobby or a side hustle to a full-time art business. I've been a professional artist for over 5 years, with paintings in several different countries and a client list that includes high-profile companies such as Bass Pro, O'Reilly's, Duck Commander, and many, many more. So I figured out what it takes to build an art business, and now my heart is set on teaching aspiring artists like you to do the same. Go to advancedmember.com, that's advancedmember.com to learn more. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast and leave a review. Also, if you ever want to join us live and have your questions answered in real time by myself or featured guests, then just hop on over to facebook.com/groups/Artist Academy every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. And I'll see you next week.